Hello there. I'm back from my trip to Chicago. Thank you so much for giving my husband, so many roses in the last Bachelor in Paradise episode. Isn't he a gem though? In fact, that was even Lyle's choice and said, hey, I'll film for you while you're out of town. Well, anyway, we are now down to the final episodes, and I want to dive deep in this video into some attachment issues that I see that are coming up with all the stress. And in this video, I want to discuss the Rodney and Eliza and Justin triangle and the Ency, Andrew, and Jessenia triangle. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Welcome back. I'm back from Chicago, and while I was there, I was so excited because I got to meet two girl crushes, shall I say, Danielle Rule and Ayana Amor from Love is Blind Season 2. They're in Chicago, and I got to meet with both of them. Go check out, I did a couple of little reels about that, and if you follow Love is Blind, I did a really deep dive into what I think could have been 100 times better if a therapist had led that reunion. But let me know what you think of that, because I'm kind of curious. Would it be helpful if I did something similar on a Bachelor in Paradise, like when they have the reunion? What I call an accountability round would look like? Because the theme that's been happening in these last few weeks, and something as a therapist that is so frustrating to me, is that so much of this dialogue just mimics real life dating, where no one takes accountability or responsibility for their part in relationships or breaks up the correct way. And so what we see is a lot of toxicity, and it gets to be very frustrating as the viewer. And so what I like to do is show like a redemption arc. What would it look like if someone went to therapy? What would it look like if they was owning their stuff? Let me know what you think of that format and if it would apply and help you figure out what's going on here. Okay, two storylines. Well, I've got probably 3 or 4, but let me start with the Eliza controversy, because this is a big infraction and what I call accountability, and this is kind of what's bugging people about Eliza. Now, at this point, right, there's the whole thing about Justin and Rodney, and you saw last week that, you know, she's with Rodney, right? She took Rodney away from Lacey, but then Justin comes back. And here's the update that I've heard since then. Supposedly Justin was on a podcast and he said, and Eliza said, it was Eliza who said in the podcast that she did not say yes to Justin. She went to Rodney first. But this was what bugged me, right? She put so much power and authority for Rodney to tell her what she should and shouldn't do. I don't even know if that's archaic, but to me, if you really like someone, okay, if I'm Eliza and I'm really digging Rodney and he's my guy, and another guy comes, what am I going to say? I'm flattered, thank you, but I'm with Rodney and I'm exploring this on my own. And so that's the sticking point for me. It's like, not only did she first say it was Rodney's fault, that he should have told her not to go, but now round 2 of all of this, she chooses Rodney, and she's crying and tearful and can't get over Justin. But now she's going to come back to Rodney while he's thrilled. He's so excited that he's been saved. Everything's great. He's talking about getting engaged to Eliza. And she says, I've made a mistake. I should have gone with Justin. But then it's like, I'm going to blame you because everybody loves you so much that I felt forced into choosing you. Wow. Oh my gosh, I just felt like there's so much closure that's missing here. Like, Rodney, you were a great guy. You made me feel great about myself. I'm so sorry. My heart's not into it. That was the part that, in terms of communication, I'm just going to say, no. This doesn't feel like a good ending. So here's the other thing that's really hard to understand. Who is Eliza really choosing? I mean, gosh knows it would be incredibly difficult for her to be the Bachelorette. I wouldn't want to be the Bachelorette, but like these choices that happen. And so she even said on a podcast, it was on the Clickbait podcast, Natasha asked her, well, if you had chosen Justin, gave him your rose, would you have flip-flopped and went back with Rodney? And she said, maybe. So to me, neither one of these is her guy. I don't know. Something might happen in the reunion, but I don't feel like at this point Eliza is certain about Rodney or Justin, because if you can flip-flop that quickly, to me it says neither one of them is right for you. What do you think? Let me know in the comments what you think. But then when she goes back to and shows up at, Justin's home, it's not a warm welcome. I feel like she wasn't quite reading the room. She's really kind of excited. This is about her and I've chosen you, but not really thinking about what that was like for Justin. So a lot of this just felt like, it felt very young. It felt like a thought that wasn't completely articulated. And obviously Eliza's young, and I really would have wanted something more contemplation, more thinking about that. And after all, Justin really said that Sally was somebody more his type. So I don't even know who Justin really wants, but Eliza did cue us that something big is going to happen on the reunion. So I will stay tuned to see what happens there. I personally don't feel like either one of these is right for her, and I'd love to see Rodney date outside of the franchise. That's just my thought. Okay, so having said that, let's talk a little bit more about attachment styles and the differences that I saw playing out this week. In fact, I would say that Eliza, with her flip-flopping back and forth, to me that felt very much like an anxious attachment style, giving the man a lot of power to decide your fate. That's something that an anxious person can kind of turn that over to the other person, feeling a bit of resentment and anger towards them. All of those things to me are in the realm of anxious attachment. Who else do I think has an anxious attachment? Which brings me to my next story, Ency. Ency, beautiful girl, by the way, comes on the beach, and it's tough to be one of the later arrivals. I really just feel for these women and men, because now you're here to essentially break up the lukewarm couples, right? That's your job. You're not a bombshell like on Love Island. You are breaking up the lukewarm couples, and you've got to have a certain kind of toughness to you, see that that's your job. But Ency gets connected to Andrew way too quick, right? He says, oh, wow. I mean, it looks like they're having a great date. And it's been one date, right? So now they're at the dance, which is adorable. Everybody's in their 90s kind of costumes. I think that's really fun. And Andrew says, I just want to have a great time. I just want to have an awesome night. And then, of course, Jessenia pulls Andrew. Now, what's going on with Jessenia? Jessenia reminds me of Taylor Nolan. Do you remember Taylor Nolan? She was from Nick Viall's season. Her and Corinne got into this big thing about emotional intelligence. And Taylor is a therapist, and it felt to me like a little bit of that too. That she somehow knows Andrew better than he knows himself. That he's an avoidant guy. That he doesn't give all of himself. But the way that she's talking to me was devoid of affect, and I felt bad for Jessenia because she doesn't have a date on the dance, right? Her and Marina, saucy girl, they're the only two that don't have dates. But it's like, I'm not sure where we're going with this Jessenia. That she is sort of telling Andrew, after all, what are your intentions, and consider your track record. And then she's repeating to him, well, there was Teddy, and then there was Brittany, and then there was me, and now there's Ency. And I'm like, and to Andrew's point, isn't that the point of Bachelor in Paradise? So Jessenia's kind of missing the mark here. But what's worrisome to me is that, of course, that now Andrew is feeling like this is a character assassination, right? He's being attacked. Are you here for the right reasons? And you can hear him clapping back. No, I am here. I'm here for love. And now it's like he hasn't even processed that. And who knows how long this conversation went on for, because of course Ency is waiting and getting very frustrated by all of this. Second story. But Jessenia this conversation's going on way too long and we're just not getting anywhere, right? So I do think now that Ency feels like an anxiously attached person, and she feels rejected. She felt rejected that Andrew didn't even look at her, went to Jessenia. He felt like, in terms of priorities, he needed to manage that. She was upset with him. He's trying to manage all of these relationships, but she feels abandoned. She feels rejected, and she is strong in her feelings. She is strong in her commitment. And then, sure enough, you're going to talk to somebody like Kate, who says, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's doing that. And all the women could say, well, he shouldn't be treating you that way. And this is, to me, an overreaction. Okay. So I don't know Ency, I don't know her family history, but when someone has a strong reaction, this is a point, I want you to notice this for yourself. If you are overreacting in a certain situation, ask like, how would 100 people handle this situation? Ency's overreaction feels so strong to me given the context that I have to wonder what else in her life looked like this. Did she have a mother who might have disappointed her? That, and we're going to get to like the pleading, the Andrew, please don't leave. That to me felt so young that it wasn't like calling out for Andrew not to leave. It was like, mommy, don't leave me, please see me. And that felt like it was way beyond an interruption. Now, because Ency is so in her feelings, so in her abandonment wound, she's not thinking clearly, right? She doesn't have her feet on the ground. She's losing it. Florence even says, oh my gosh, she's losing it. She's like hyperventilating. She is feeling like this is life or death. Like this is really about her character. And so now Andrew has been essentially attacked twice. First by Jessenia, your character, you're not here for the right reasons. And now Ency is saying, what the hell? What the hell, dude? I cannot believe that you did this. Now, okay, let's stop for a minute. What about Andrew? Could he have been given better closure? Absolutely. He could have been more specific to both Jessenia and Ency. And he gets there eventually, but from the beginning, again, we don't know how long this conversation went on. I gather that there was just a lot more content, right? It's edited down. So he finally gets to it, though. He finally apologizes to Jessenia for wasting her time, which is what she wanted, right? She wanted acknowledgement, validation. But is she crying? Was she that in love with Andrew? It doesn't feel like it. She just feels like she's been played. And she says that on her car ride out in the limo, right? Now, Ency, could she have handled it differently? Absolutely. She could not have given the ultimatum that she did, because that was the problem. And remember, from the beginning, when you're dating, you don't have that many chances. If you're deep into a relationship, you and your partner have this kind of dynamic, it's different. But early on, no one knows you. And they're thinking, oh my God, if I'm talking to this woman and I've asked you to wait patiently for me and you haven't, and you overreact to that, how might you react to other things? You see, so it really becomes a breaking point early on in relationships that you don't have that many chances. And then finally, Andrew cracks it all open and says, my heart is with Teddy. But it's almost like, I think he knew that and he was telling the guys because Logan, reciprocates that, but he hasn't been able to kind of say that. And that's where he struggles. Okay, he gets there finally. But by now, by this point, all the drama, there is just no room. Okay, again, maybe if this had just happened one time, but because it happened twice, you just see that Andrew is flooded. He is also in his feelings. He feels like shit. He's ready to just get out of there. And to him, it's like, what do you mean you didn't trust me? And she's saying, no, it's not that I didn't trust you. But this is where now Andrew feels trapped. He's like, dude, back off. Calling her dude, again, I get the feeling he just felt so trapped. And now this was just painful for everyone to watch. And how could Ency have handled this differently? Well, if she had taken a breath, if she had been calmer, if she had not taken this personally, if she had not felt abandoned but she felt like, okay, this is this guy that I like, and he's a good guy, but he's not, his feelings are still with Teddy. I can't do anything to change that, right? I can't plead them. All I can say is, it was so nice meeting you. I understand you need that clarity. Go for it. Go after her. And if it doesn't work out with Teddy, who knows? You know, Bachelor Nation is a small world. What if she said something like that? Maybe then, because we don't know what's going to happen with Andrew, right? Because here's my worry. Okay, Andrew, Teddy did say that there was something missing with you. Teddy was there, and if it was only 4 days and she met Rodney, he came down the beach and then told Andrew that she was leaving. So I don't think that there's a high chance for that. And again, who really knows? But did Andrew do anything wrong? No, I don't feel like it. I feel like he could have gotten there a little bit quicker, but he really was trying to do right by all of these people. And I think that at this point, a repair needs to happen between Ency and Jessenia. No one's talking about that, but those two women had a fractured moment where they're both like fighting for this guy, and Jessenia feels bad. She's invested time in someone who's not invested in her. Ency feels like she got overly attached too quickly, and those two women, they're like fighting over some guy and it's not worth it. That needs to be repaired. So is there anything we can learn from this situation with Ency and Andrew? Well, here's the thing. I think the mistake that Ency made was she assumed the worst about Andrew, right? That there was more there to the conversation than there was. And I think this does happen in real world situations. You have to give your partner the benefit of the doubt, calm down, and talk about things when we're not so activated. Okay, let's switch a little bit, and I want to talk about Kate. Because I think Kate is really an interesting person to me. I think in terms of attachment styles that Kate is more the independent, I call it more avoidant attachment style. Why do I say that? Well, she's a little bit on the cooler side. And we're hearing Kate talk about Logan and his orange Honda, but really it's a Nissan. And she's got these complaints, but I don't honestly feel a lot of affect from her. I have the theory that Kate was coached by the Game of Roses people, and that's why she's getting a lot of like airtime. She's got this, even when she was on The Bachelor, right? It was the shirts and pants, and she's got these like funny sort of catch-all phrases. And I think that's how she's kind of branded herself. Now, Morgan on Morgan Talks or Morgan Pops, who does pop culture stuff, she has a theory that Kate wants to get on Selling Sunset, and she's trying to be the villain, and this is her debut, her interview. I don't know if any of that is true, but Kate feels really different to me in terms of her energy and her affect. But what's frustrating to all of us is that we get it, sister in Christ. She is a 33-year-old grown-ass woman who likes nice things and wants an Equinox membership. But what she's saying to Logan is really mixed. And here's the thing. Logan is who he is. He's 26. He's fresh off The Bachelorette. I also thought that was really, quite honestly, kind of unfair that the women were sort of ganging up and talking about Logan. Who the hell would want to be in that situation? Let me know what you think. I'm like, oh my God. Can you imagine like two of your exes talking to your current person? Oh my God, it just sounds awful to me. But here's the thing. I just felt like Kate could have really let Logan go a little bit in this mixed messaging, right? I don't want you because you're not what I need, but I don't want anybody else to have you either. And I felt like that was just somewhat selfish. Is she getting a bad at it? And here's the thing. It's okay, Kate, if you need a more successful guy who's more your equal, have at it. But at that point, then you kind of have to like leave paradise. You have to leave Logan and just say that this isn't your guy and hope that, again, somebody else comes along that you feel that for. Or it just doesn't feel quite right. And the fact that we're actually having empathy for Logan, this guy who we knew notoriously had difficulty deciding, is just kind of ironic. But her energy to me feels definitely more in that independent realm. I wanted to know what you think. And that's why I think that there may be some friction with the other women, because she doesn't quite feel the same as, like, for instance, Genevieve's energy, right? Okay, so what I have to say is I want to land this plane here. I just think Jesse Palmer, who keeps talking about the strong couples that we have. We have so many strong model couples here. I'm like who? Like who? Okay, besides Serene and Brandon, who are these strong couples that are going to get engaged or married? Okay, so yes, we have Danielle and Michael. I already feel, to be honest, that Danielle is the one who's doing more of the sacrificing. They've fallen into this relationship because they both had lost someone, but I don't know if I see that much more there. Now, they're both from the Midwest. That's great. And I think they're going to, take this off the beach. But how strong is that? I don't know, because I do still feel like Michael has not really shown us much. He is more in the parental kind of role. He's more narrating than he is really in his own love relationship. We know that Johnny and Victoria may not be as strong as we'd hoped or thought. What about Tyler and Brittany? Are they strong? Certainly, Tyler is cute, but he works at the beach boardwalk in Philadelphia, on the East Coast somewhere, and Brittany is a model in Chicago. So, I just look at that and I think, what is the likelihood of that working? I think they're cute and all, but I don't feel any depth between these two either. Next up, we have Aaron and Genevieve. And please, the constant fighting and the back and forth, and let's be done with that, because if Genevieve really does not feel like Aaron gets her, then she's out. But the threats of leaving yet again over this ridiculous conversation about pain versus itching, and by the way, it is not facts. I looked it up, right? The pain centers are different than the itching centers, and they're not the same mechanism. So Aaron was so convinced that he was right, and yet that felt really darn silly. And Wells said it himself. Okay, so who are these strong couples? Because certainly last time we had Serena and Joe, who are now married. We had Thomas and Becca, who are now engaged. We had Mari and Kenny, left engaged. We had Noah and Abigail. They're continuing to go strong. Who knows? They might get engaged. We had Chris and Alana. I think they left together, right? They're still going strong. And then, of course, we had Marisa and Riley. They did get engaged, but then they fell apart. So that was a lot more engagements. And so relative to that, my big thing is that these longer seasons have not really produced much more, right? I was not a fan of the Casa Amora thing, because back to that video, I don't think that couples so early on should be tested. You barely know this person, and now you're put through a test. I don't actually even think couples in general benefit from tests, so why would I get behind that? I think, again, that was from Love Island. I just don't think that worked here. And I also wondered, because more than one woman has said that this is a guy's trip. Okay, Jessenia just complained about Andrew. Genevieve complained about Aaron. A lot of the women are complaining that the guys have all come together. But they had to in some ways, because the women were off, new women came in. So I don't think it's a dynamic that has really benefited the couples. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at who are the strong couples and the changes that they're making. If you want to get behind creative changes, do the couples benefit? And that's where I say, nope, we're out. Okay, the big lesson for me this week, as I started out this video, is accountability. Accountability is a long word. I was trying to think of an acronym, but basically I just want to say, are you owning it? Are you owning your pieces? So back to Eliza, did she own her piece? No. If she was ambivalent about Rodney and Justin, she didn't own that, right? That's why it's so frustrating. Has Kate really owned her part? Has she really said, this is what's important to me? No, we get caught in that ambivalence. And then, did Ency really own her part? I don't know if she could have, because part of that was sort of the unconscious part. Did Andrew completely own his part? So you see what I'm getting at? That's what I want you to look in the mirror. Am I owning my part in relationships? Am I asking for what I want, but am I also giving my partner what they need? That's the question. Own it. Are you owning it? Let me know. Drop it in the comments what you thought about my accountability video, because that's where I went on the Love is Blind, and whether you think I should do an accountability own it video for what's going to be a fascinating reunion, because there's going to be lots of drama and we're still going to see where all these couples land. Thank you so much.